Amen.
Chaplain, canonise the rest, take leaders in prayer.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So a little prayer for today. God of justice and mercy, thank you for the gift of life and for the opportunity to serve the people of this county. Help us to act with character and with conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with charity and with restraint. Give us a spirit of service. Remind us that we are stewards of your authority, and guide us to be the leaders your people need. Help us to see the humanity and dignity of those who disagree with us, and to treat all persons, no matter how weak or poor, with reverence your creation deserves. And finally, Father, renew us with the strength of your presence and the joy of helping to build a community worthy of the human person. We ask this as your sons and daughters, confident in your goodness and love, through Christ our Lord. Amen. Enjoy the meeting. Right, get my glasses on.
First of all, do we have any apologies? Councillor Barnfather.
Thank you, Chairman. I have apologies from Councillor Philip Owen and Councillor Nigel Turner for medical reasons, and I have an apology from Councillor Richard Jackson, who's delayed for personal reasons, but will be joining us later in the meeting.
Councillor Henry, do you have any apologies?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have apologies from Councillor Sheila Place, who is ill, and Councillor Penny Garland and Councillor Clark, who will be joining us late for this meeting.
Good. Councillor Deakin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got apologies from Councillor Deakin. She's hoping to join us at some point. Thank you.
Agenda item 2 is declarations of interest. If any councillor or officer has either a disclosable pecuniary interest or a private interest in any matter on the agenda, you should declare it now. Please raise your hand now if you have an interest to declare. When called to speak, you should state whether it is disposable pecuniary or a private interest and give brief details. No one? We're all gathered here today for this special meeting to install 2 honorary aldermen, and I call upon Councillor Ben Bradley, who will introduce the report and move the recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's an honour and a pleasure to convene a little bit early this morning for a special purpose and to propose the recommendations on page 6 of the report for the only agenda item for this meeting, if only actual full council meetings could be as straightforward as that, but I imagine we'd still be able to talk until 5:30. Keep ourselves busy. The report gives us a little bit of history of the 2 people who have had a huge impact on this council and on this county for many years. We don't appoint people to the role of alderman every day, Mr. Chairman. It's a rare occasion reserved for people whose influence and whose work has genuinely been exceptional. I couldn't work out what the etiquette would be as to who to do first, so in the end I stuck with alphabetical order. I didn't the report save any arguments, and I know colleagues will pick up further when seconding the proposal, but I'll start with Joyce Bosniak. Joyce was elected to this authority when I was 3 years old.
It's supposed to be being nice.
And I know from my own experience, having represented the same area, first as MP and now having inherited Joyce's Mansfield North seat on the County Council, that she's always put her local community first. She's had her finger in every pie going, every community group, every local cause, and is incredibly well liked and respected in Mansfield, representing Hornby Ward as well on the District Council until 2019. I've had the privilege of seeing her at work, supporting groups like Focus Point, for example, in Woodhouse, where she supported Charlene and the volunteers with funding, with her time, serving tea, washing up, and everything in between for kids clubs and dementia groups and everything else. That's just one example, but I know that that kind of service to the community is why she's so highly regarded across the area. Having been deputy leader of the council, Joyce became one of our area's most high-profile politicians and a leading figure in the Labour Party. And I know that her Labour colleagues will want to expand on that further over the course of this morning. My own experiences of Joyce, though fairly limited in truth, have always been positive. I've always valued the contribution she's made locally and in this chamber. She's always been open to conversation. She was one-to-one, never partisan or abrasive, actually very easy to get on with, which is something that I think is really important and really valuable in this kind of political arena. She's had the patience to continue and try and support some very challenging people in our division. She probably knows one in particular that I might refer to, and always persevered and tried to help even when they wouldn't help themselves. She's always been proactive. When we crossed paths outside Yeoman Park Academy a few weeks ago, only briefly, as I was dealing with some residents who were concerned about parking, she flashed me a smile and said, "This is your problem now," which I feel like she quite enjoyed. But Joyce, I hope you're enjoying having a bit more time now you're a free woman to spend on yourself. And I know you're using it wisely. In truth, continuing to support your community. In fact, we've got a meeting on Friday, so you can fill me in on some of the things that you're doing. You are highly deserving of this honour today, and I congratulate you for it. From the B's to the C's then, Chairman, and Mrs Kay Cutts, MBE. If Joyce joined this council when I was 3, Kay was here a good 6 months before I was born. And by that time, I'd already committed half a lifetime to the service of local residents. Having started the parish council in 1972 and then Rushcliffe Borough, Kay was the longest serving member of our group when she retired and the leader of the Conservative group for 21 years. That longevity and commitment, and truthfully the fact that she'd want to be the leader of this rebel for that long, tells you something about the drive and determination that Kay has had ever since I have known her. We actually go back a fair way too, Kay. We met when I came to do work experience as a student when I was maybe 20 or 21. You took me to a barnstorming meeting of Gamston Parish Council, if I remember rightly, and it was the start of my journey in politics. It was so exciting that I couldn't then walk away from that political experience. And I'm still grateful for the fact you were willing to let me trail around after you and to learn, which you didn't have to do, but you did anyway. And as I say, it set me on a path, so I have to take some blame for everything that's happened since. While serving as a county councillor, latterly as leader, Kay was a formidable figure in regional and national politics too, and the work that she did continues in the form of things like the Midlands Engine, in our ongoing drive to secure investment through HS2, and many of our regional economic priorities that were worth fighting for then and still are now. She also led this authority through the most challenging time in its recent history, through the COVID pandemic, and has been throughout a figure of strength and stability, one who is more than deserving of our MBE for services to local government. Few have served local government and their community as long or as well or with such determination as Kay Cutts, not just in Nottinghamshire, but anywhere. Kay, we didn't always agree on everything. We probably still don't agree on everything. But you know what? Everyone who says that about you always then follows up with, but I have a huge amount of respect for you, for her, for the work that you've done and for the way in which you have done it. I know Reg will be able to dig back much further into your history than I can. I've only caught a few years of your lifetime of service, but I've learned an awful lot from you also. And this authority would be mad not to seek to honour the work and the time and the energy that you have invested here and for our communities. So again, I congratulate you on that honour, which is richly deserved. With that, Mr Chairman, may I say that these two candidates are more than worthy of the rare honour that we're discussing this morning. I congratulate them both for all that they have achieved, and I hope that colleagues in the room will join me in confirming the recommendations in this report this morning.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Can I call upon Councillor Reg Adair, who is going to jointly second the motion?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. It's a pleasure to second the motion and follow up on what then our leaders just said. I first met Kay and Nigel, so I'm going with C first instead of B. Sorry, Joyce. First met Kay and Nigel in the mid-90s at Conservative Party functions. My first impression that I had of Kay was that she likes to be in charge and was very passionate about her politics and how this should be delivered. I thought I was meeting Maggie Thatcher again, a strong lady with a mind of her own. Having worked in industry where 80% of its staff employed were female, I had met with strong-willed ladies before. When I became a Conservative candidate in 2001 for Ruddington, Kay and others were there to help me so that when I got to know the real Kay Cutts, a determined lady who was prepared to give all she could to win a Conservative council after 20 years of Labour control. That was a turning point of politics in Nottinghamshire, and we added more councillors to our benches. So in 2009 elections, Kay achieved her objective of leading the Conservative administration until 2013, when a period of change was managed throughout the council services and the financial burden on council taxpayers reduced. Her second administration followed in 2017, which again, the progression of change and delivery of services were sustained, and the council was given a good council in the 2019 peer review. So thanks to Kay's leadership, the Conservatives won a third administration term in 2021, with 37 Conservative councillors being elected. So Kay, you deserve your honour because of the achievements in your time as leader of the Council of Nottinghamshire. So well done, and many thanks to you. And Joyce, it was always a pleasure to work with you. I know you used to accuse me of being a bit mean with money, but it was always a pleasure to work with you. You were always there, and your intentions were in the right place and wanted to do right for other people. And I remember sitting on many chairs or in many meetings where you were chair and all the rest of it. So I can only say that working with you was a real pleasure, and the service you've given to the council over your period of time, also, you deserve the honour that's been bestowed on your long service to the council as well. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Adair, and I now call upon Councillor Kate Fole, who will again jointly second the motion.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. It's a real pleasure to support the appointment as honorary alderman of two such legendary women councillors. Both of you so clearly demonstrated a clear and exceptional contribution to the political life of our wonderful county. Kay first, I'm going out of order as well. Kay first, what an amazing service you've given. Your knowledge, experience and understanding of the work of this council over so many years speaks for itself. And your strong political leadership and advocacy for Nottinghamshire was clearly evident throughout your time as leader. Joyce, when I was first elected, which is 2013, a long time ago now, I was so inspired by you. Not only were you a fluent speaker, you made off-the-cuff, eloquent and insightful speeches, as you can see I'm not off the cuff today, and contributions in this chamber, all very measured and delivered with good humour and respect for everyone at the meeting. It's a really tough one to pull off that one, I think, but you did it with both style and impact. Your amazing record is set out in detail in the report, and both Alan and I contributed towards that, just so you know we worked on it together. What I saw throughout the 8 years I worked with you was a determination to do the right thing by our residents, a willingness to fight their corner and speak out against injustice and inequality, especially for those in our communities who are vulnerable and disadvantaged. You're a real community champion, Joyce. I think that's the highest accolade I can give you, really. There's so much to celebrate about your work here, Joyce. But for me, your work with the voluntary sector organisations in particular was and is creative and unwavering, and the depth of your knowledge and understanding of the sector and the key role it plays working in partnership with the council for the benefit of our residents is second to none. So thank you both for your exceptional service and all the very best for whatever you decide to do next, and many, many congratulations to both of you.
Thank you, Councillor Fole. I have Councillor Bruce Lawton indicated wishing to speak.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. It was 22 years ago I walked through the doors of this place, and it was a real first time. I'm going to talk about Kay first and then Joyce. First real time that I met Kay, and I thought, Jesus, I've entered into a serious situation here. She got me in the office and she went, I'm going to give you the portfolio for finance opposite the other alderman. One of the other aldermen sat over there, John Carter, you know, and I crossed swords with John for, it was about 4 years, wasn't it, John, 4 or 5 years, and I had a, to be quite honest with you, a whale of a time really. But what you have to remember is that I think there were only 17 of us then. We were in short supply, a bit like you guys are over there now. So things do change, and so we were really up against it, and that to me was Kay's finest 4 years really, because it was the ability to be able to maintain the level of effort that was required to keep our head above water, that was really professional, and was really outstanding as far as I was concerned. And I, like a lot of young councillors, and there's Cotty and Richard in the chamber today, we watched, to a certain extent, in awe, really, the way that she managed the group, and also fought her corner, and fought our corner for the Conservatives and the Conservative group in Nottinghamshire. And it was there. I mean, I'm an ex-military person, as is Keith, and we can relate to strong leaders. That's what we are trained to deal with, and that's exactly what we have with Kay. Really, this honour, I feel, is not for us to give. This is an honour that is being given by the people of Nottinghamshire. That's where it comes from, because over Kay's tenure in this chamber, there are literally tens of thousands of residents of Nottinghamshire that have benefited directly from her leadership. And that can be, whether that be schools, whether that be health, whether that be a whole swatch of services that this, I mean, libraries take, for example, you know, it's absolute resolute, along with John, to maintain the libraries, absolute resolute to maintain youth services in Nottinghamshire. You know, these were services that really mattered to those residents, and also made a massive impact on their lives and the lives of my residents. And so, you know, so it gives me the greatest pleasure to stand up here and speak about Kay, and I will do again in a minute about Joyce. But, you know, he sat up there, Nigel. You know, Nigel is an absolutely topping man. He supported Kay through thick and thin. And it's only latterly I've really got to know what an absolute great guy he is, and talking about both his and Kay's common past, racing, doing hill racing and changing tyres and all that sort of stuff. So it really is to the people of Nottinghamshire that I'm talking about here, thanking Kay for her many years of service on their behalf. Many of you disagree with what you've got to say. I've watched it happen in the chamber many times. But at the end of the day, it always gives me somebody that does something. You know, it's very easy to sit there and not do anything to try and put something right. And you find me somebody that does something, and I will find you somebody that's made mistakes. And Kay has made mistakes like many of us, but at least she got in there and was wading around trying to sort the problems of Nottinghamshire out. So this is a well-deserved honour, and words that come readily to mind are dedicated, hard-working. I mean, I used to come into the chamber and she was always there. You know, she was never, ever, she was there. She was at work and work and work and work, both on behalf of the people of Nottinghamshire on behalf of me as a councillor. And it was this tireless attitude. You could not do anything else but admire this level of work. And it, not only that, tainted in and woven right the way throughout it was like a visionary attitude of where she wanted Nottinghamshire to end up and which direction she wanted it to go. And you know, the road wasn't always smooth and it was bumpy, but she stuck in there on behalf of her residents and my residents, I think. But the real testament to Kay is her empathy. That's where it comes in. That's where you really learn out what Kay's like. The minute you get into trouble, the minute you have a problem, the minute you had a family issue, the minute there was something gone wrong in your constituency or you needed help or advice, Kay was always my first port of call, because you always got empathy, you always got the right advice, and you always got advice that was truly given, and that is extremely important. And we've all been through family disasters and tragedies, and Kay was always there and supportive, and that's why she deserves what Nottinghamshire is giving her today. So I think you can encapsulate the whole of Kay by just putting down that she was a first-class leader of this council and a first-class leader of our Conservative group at County Council, at the County Council, and also a first-class family person, which I think is always a really good thing to have as leader of the council. Joyce, you look a lot better actually since you've stopped being a councillor. I think it's done you a world of good. It's done you a world of good. I was the first person when you were leaving, one of the people when you were leaving to say you will be sorely missed. And I can assure you, I miss you, and as do other members of this group. You know, I used to say things that used to wind you up, but you never fell out with me, you know, and I think that is a testament to a really good politician. You know, we were banging about in the chamber, end of the day, that was it. The minute we walked out the door, we were friends. And I think that is, I think a lot of politicians should learn that skill. A lot of politicians haven't got that. And I think that is a real positive as far as your skills and leadership were concerned within the Labour group. You know, you were resolutely passionate about issues which were impacting on your residents, and I think that's always a good starting point, I find, as a politician. You know, if you listen to what your residents tell you and you action 95% of what they've told you, you can't go far wrong, and you had got that in spades. And I think we all owe you a debt of gratitude, as does the Labour group, for all the hard work you put into the health initiative within the council, your deputy leadership of the Labour group. You were always a steady hand and a steady influence, which was required in this chamber more than once. So, you know, it is with a really great pleasure that I am standing up here talking about these two aldermen. It's one of these things we rarely ever do. We rarely ever do. So it really just shows you how important this honour is to the candidates and their families, because this is a recognition of dedication and commitment to the people of Nottinghamshire. That's where it comes in. So, and it's also the sacrifice which has been put forward by their families to allow them to be able to do the work that was necessary for them to work hard and work on behalf of our communities, because we're in it together as a family. And I've missed events and holidays, and I haven't been able to do things I would have liked to have done with my family, but as a councillor, it precludes you from doing that. You know, one of the overriding things, I mean, going back, I could name councillors like Nora Armstrong, Andy Stewart. You know, these are all councillors who in the past have worked extremely hard for their residents. They've delivered things in their patches. They used to drive around their patches. I've done it with Andy Stewart, and he said, I've done that, I did that, and they're all forgotten. You know, the electorate move on. They forget the fact that you put a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit in. They forget the fact that you've had a new footway put in to get people from A to B safely. They forget the fact you've had pedestrian crossings put in purely on the back of your efforts as a councillor, and it gets all forgotten. Well, here is our opportunity as a council and for the people of Nottinghamshire to say thank you to Joyce and Kay for all work they've put in throughout Nottinghamshire, and all that work that has been forgotten, that should have been remembered by the electorate of Nottinghamshire. So thank you very much.
We have been very lenient at this time.
I'm going on.
But you have overstepped the mark by quite a bit.
I'll sit down.
I won't be so lenient when we get to the main meeting. Councillor Guilfoyle.
Thank you, Chairman. Glad to have the opportunity to speak here today. And I think it was Joyce who said on numerous occasions over the last few years, we're all too often remembering people who have passed, and passed in the sense of left this mortal earth. And I'm glad that we've got the opportunity to say thank you to people who are here today, and also glad that they're the first women to receive this accolade. Sheila sends her love to both of you, and she says thank you for all the help and support that you gave her during her difficult times as well. I'm not going to differentiate, because actually we've got two very strong, determined, but compassionate women who are here today. And Joyce, I was only 2 when you were elected. Yeah, thank you. And I'm glad to see that you've not come on your motorbike today. I look back and think about the amount of time that they've dedicated over the years, and I'm glad to see that now they're going to have the opportunity to enjoy the rest of their time with their families, which is very important. Being women in politics, and it's not very, I mean, it shouldn't be me, it should be some of the women here saying, being women in politics, I know when I've sort of seen in my own branch and in politics within the party, it's very difficult for women to get actually even picked to be a councillor. And you've got to be a strong and determined woman for that to happen. And in particular, at the time when you two both got into politics. I mean, today, when you look around the chamber, it's dominated by males. And I'm glad it is in one sense, because I'm a male and I want to be here. But, you know, you both got here when there wasn't positive discrimination, and how difficult that must have been for you. Knowing, in particular, Joyce, representing a mining area where I know what the NUM was like at the time, that they, you know, you pick an NUM representative, but they picked you because you were an NUM representative. So all I'm going to say is that it's good that we are recognising you. I know what work you've done for the communities, both of you. I know we've fell out on times, on arguments, but when you get out of that door, as Bruce says, it's different. And, you know, whenever anybody has wanted any assistance, you've been there to help, to assist, to console, and to generally cheer us up on occasions. So thank you to you both, and I hope you have a really good retirement.
Thank you, Councillor Guilfoyle. Councillor Mike Pringle.
Thank you, Chairman. And I think all of us that know both Kay and Joyce could speak realms of the efforts of the things that they've done because of how they believe it. Well, I'm going to just divert slightly and just talk about the character, because I ended up trying to follow in the shoes of Stella Smedley, who was dominant within this chamber for many years. Those shoes were huge to fill, but during my political short political career initially, Stella was very poorly, so she was often awake throughout the night. So I'd get a call at 10 o'clock and say, I'm awake, come up and see me. And when we would go up there, we would often talk about Kay and the things that she put in place and the arguments that he put forward. And she tried to explain to me how to address the difference of opinions, which was really powerful. But I never really got the power of Kay until sadly Stella passed away, and I managed to win the seat and come here. And on my first visit, Kay walked over to me and gently just tapped me and said, behave. To this day, I hope you all recognise that I behave, whether Kay's here or not. Yeah. So, you know, your character stays with you, Kay. We obviously disagree on politics, but your character, your personality, your compassion should be recognised, and I certainly recognise that. Now, just going on to Joyce. Joyce is a great friend. She really looked after me again when I came here, because I was as green can be, thinking I can change the world at SWAT. She would spend time with me telling me how stupid I was and how I could do things in a different way. But what most of you don't know about Joyce is that she's an art collector. And she's an art collector of what many would call Banksies. I don't know if you're aware of Banksies. They're not actually Banksies. But what Joyce is she's very much a maternal politician. So any child that came into our office, in our room, Joyce would chase them and they'd be running away from Joyce, and she'd be painting the hands and all sorts and sticking it on paper all over. So she has got the greatest collection of kids' paintings ever. And if ever it gets launched, we all should go and see it, because there must be hundreds. Oakley's got some and everything. And she still to this day remembers each one of those children that painted. And when you see social media in particular today, you look at Joyce's posts. When anybody puts a post on with the kids or with the grandkids, Joyce has a memory about that grandkid, and that's how good and compassionate Joyce is. And that shone through, Joyce, with your representation for any of the residents that were held in your division. So it's a pleasure to know you both. In many ways, I think you're both great. In other ways, obviously, I don't. But, you know, thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Pringle. Councillor Barnfather.
Thank you, Chairman. It gives me great pleasure to speak today. I came here in 2009, and as some of you may be aware, I had a previous occupation as a police officer for 34 years. And at one time I was in charge of the armed robbery squad, the homicide unit, the major crime unit, organised crime. I'd met some tough and formidable people and sat across the table from them. I thought I'd seen it all, and then I came here in 2009 and I met Kay. And this was in a different league, may I say. I remember a very early meeting in 2009. I was the deputy whip appointed at that time, and we sat in here, and it was a particularly acrimonious meeting. And after the meeting, I had a bit of a moan to the then chief whip about I didn't come here to fall out and argue across the floor here with members of the opposition, and went and sat in my office. Everybody else left for the day, and there were only two of us left on the corridor, and that was Kay and myself. And Kay came into my office and stood in front of my desk. I understand you're not very happy with how we've conducted things in the chamber today. And I explained why I didn't come here to fall out. I'd had 34 years of doing that. And she just looked down at me and she says, if you're going to make a success of it here, you're going to have to grow a pair. That was one of my earliest meetings with Kay. a formidable, determined and very tough lady. We all saw that in this chamber. We all saw that in the way in which she represented this authority locally, regionally and to a degree nationally. But what people didn't see was the other side of Kay, the Kay who was, and I think it's already been alluded to by Councillor Lawton, the compassionate side of Kay, the caring side of Kay. I think anybody in this chamber who was here during earlier administrations will know that if you were in trouble, if there was a family tragedy, if there was a difficult issue, Kay was always there for you. It didn't matter whether you were in the blue corner, the red corner, the yellow corner or the non-determined corner. The reality of it is Kay was always there to offer compassion, always there to offer sympathy and constructive help. And that was the side of Kay that you only saw close up. You didn't necessarily see within this chamber. But that was the individual that led this council for a long time. And it's right that she should be honoured today. I've moved to Joyce, and I remember Kay saying to me under the last administration, I want you to sit in that chair there, the one that Gordon Wheeler is currently sat in. Why is that, Kay? She says, because it's the closest one to the Labour benches and they quite like you. And I've got John Peck next to me and I had Joyce at the other side of John Peck. And I think they thought maybe rather than Keith, who used to sit in that seat at one time, I was a softer option, shall I say. I was a softer option to sit next to the opposition at difficult moments. And I must admit, I've sat through many a meeting, and my biggest memory of most of those meetings is Joyce chuntering. Because anybody who sat next to her in this chamber knows that if Joyce is feeling emotion, she has to show it. And she would chunter away through a meeting, especially if we'd had some speakers and it was a particularly difficult issue. And John would smile and he'd turn to me and he'd sort of give me the look to say, she's at it again, chuntering. But Joyce, as a politician in this chamber, gave so much to this chamber, to Nottinghamshire and to this community. In a way of how to conduct yourself, Joyce to me epitomises what a politician should be like, because politics, and I've said it before to other people in this chamber, should never be personal. We all come here with a desire to serve our communities, to serve our county, and we just sometimes come at it from a different ideological direction. It doesn't make us right, it doesn't make somebody else wrong. We all come here to do our best, and politics should never be personal. And Joyce never made it personal. We could disagree in this chamber and we'd walk out together and Joyce would have a laugh and a joke with you because it was done. It was a done deal, move on. And that to me is how politics should be in this chamber and how we should conduct ourselves. Can I say, I think that there will only be, should this vote pass today, and I really think that it probably will, there will only be, I think, 6 aldermen have been appointed in something like the last 25 years. Now that shows the extent of the honour that we are actually giving today to these 2 individuals, and there could not be 2 more individuals who deserve it than the 2 ladies who are sat there. Fantastic servants to this council, to their communities and to this county, and I applaud you both.
Thank you, Councillor Barnfather. Councillor Camilleri.
Thank you very much. I'd like to speak on, because I've known Joyce for quite a long time. And when I was a young politician, I was probably about 10 years old when you was born, actually. They always wondered why I went over to the dark side. They couldn't understand why I wasn't one of them. And I had many of argument with you and Rita Sharp, as I know. I can't remember her last name. But Joyce is one of the kind of women that is very strong in her views, but very nice. But the main thing I'd like to talk about is that she's a Mansfield councillor. And I'm a Mansfield councillor, and we know how difficult it is in Mansfield. No matter what party come, Mansfield struggles. We need the money, we need the education, we need the help. And Joyce has always worked for the people of Mansfield. And I'd just like to say one thing: if I turn out half as good, which people have also known me that I probably won't, half as good as Joyce, as much humour with it as Joyce, and as nice as Joyce, really, then I'll be very grateful. And also, I'd like to say that your husband has been really patient over these years. And many a time I had to sit in the old Rosso asking him what Joyce is doing to her, and he didn't know. And but I'm glad that you'll spend lots of time with your husband and enjoy it, Joyce. You've been a great Mansfield councillor. It don't matter if you're a man or woman. If we had more like you, Mansfield would be a lot better place than it is today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clemenary. I have one more speaker who's indicated to speak, and that's Councillor Kerry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to move this round so I can actually turn and look at our friends behind. Kay, it's been a pleasure the years I've spent with you here since I was first elected in 2009. Your leadership was immense. The things that this council achieved because of that leadership over that period of time are amazing and certainly made a difference to the people in my divisions. They changed, the boundaries changed, but you know that's how politics is. It's been said before, but I think your compassion came over to me as well as your leadership. I know that on occasions, being a new councillor back in those days, I'm nervous now. I was nervous, and I think you knew that, and I would approach your office, look round the corner, knock on the door, you know, because of you are a scary person at times. You know, you're a very strong lady. You're scary now, but I mean that in the best possible way. I'm not, you know, somebody like me, but you'd always let me in, and you'd always give me good advice. And actually, the points made about your compassion and about you caring for our families and the situation, the kids, the grandkids, all those kind of things was fantastic. So I can't add any more to some of the other years where you were here, but I'm sure that you made a vast difference to Nottinghamshire and its future, actually. And I'm really proud to be able to support you and support you today. Joyce, I hadn't really known you very well. We used to glare across the chamber sometimes when you were speaking and little comments and whatever. Having read about your work and your continued work in the community, you really do care fantastically about your Mansfield people. And actually, when we heard that you were not going to be standing at the last election, I secretly was very happy, to be frank, because I thought we've got a chance here. Because I think if you would have remained, I think you'd have been a really strong candidate and might still be in this chamber today. So, good thing is, thank you for the opportunity we had, and the opportunity you didn't have. But actually, I thought you were a really wonderful person. You were friendly outside, and I really hope you do well in your future. And good luck. And actually see you back here, both of you, in fact, see you back here at times to join in with continue to join in the work that we do. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Kerry. Councillor Cotty.
Thank you, Chairman. I will keep it short and sweet, as I try to do normally. And I'm not going to repeat all the things that previous speakers have said, apart from the fact that when I came to this chamber in 2001, Kay, thank you for embracing me in the Conservative group and also working with you over many years, which I've thoroughly enjoyed. And in fact, you did change my life. In 2004, I sold my business. I realised that doing the work in my community, I really enjoyed it. And the electorate did vote me back in the following year. And I've still continued to enjoy that job, trying to achieve the best for my community, and with your support in the past. And thank you for the years as well that I've really enjoyed when we've been in power and control. I've really enjoyed myself. We'll move across to Joyce. And also you and Nigel I've known from the 90s and always appreciated, you know, both your support. Joyce, I've always got on with you. I always sit in this chamber over the years that you've been here. And when you put your hand up, I go, right, it's all going to be calmed. We've had moments in this chamber which are not happy. They're not the best, but I know your passion for what you did in your communities, and I've been to your community as well. And I will see both you ladies who deserve this award. I will see you both in the future. because I enjoy your companies. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cotty. Councillor Girling.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'll come on to Joyce first, because we never really got to know each other, Joyce. I only ever saw you there. I never ended up in one of your committees. I never ended up doing anything with you, really, apart from to sort of disagree with what you were saying over there, which was my role. But I've always seen you with the greatest respect and the way you conduct yourself in this chamber. And as been said here, I won't go on to it all, how you've worked hard for your community. And I think that's what it's all about, really. That's why I'm a councillor. That's why most of us are here to do that. So I think it's well deserved. I think it's fair to say that Kay and I will never be drinking partners. You know, we've had our disagreements in the past, Kay, but I can think I'm one of the few councillors who probably had a hug in my office because of one of the disagreements we've had. And like the leader said, I've always respected you. I've always thought you've done everything you can possibly do to make this a fantastic county to live in, and I think you've achieved that. You know, and a lot of politics is about how we go about things, and that's where we really had our disagreements. But as I said, I absolutely and totally respect you, and I thank you for the guidance you've given me over the years I've been a councillor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Girling. Councillor Doddy.
Thanks very much indeed. I think I've been here probably for a good 10 years now, and I do remember going through the doors for the very first time, and you walk into County Hall and you walk up that beautiful staircase and you go into the members' side with the panelling and the beauty. And it comes with a little bit of trepidation, but whereas Keith thinks he was the only one that ever got a hug, I walked in the door and Kay came up to me and gave me the biggest... She gave me the biggest hug I've ever had from anybody, and I thought, I'm in the right place. The fact that I've never had a hug in the following 10 years, I don't hold that against you. Funnily enough, Kate says he spent no time with Joyce. And it's funny that I think I spent far more time with Joyce than I did with Kay, because every single committee she was on, I was on those committees. Back in the days when we had a standalone public health committee, Joyce, if you remember that. And back to 2012 and 2013, when the Health and Wellbeing Bill brought in the health and wellbeing strategies and the health and wellbeing boards. And I remember being on those boards, and they were a fantastically open, fantastically fun, fantastically magnanimous board to be on, because everybody got the opportunity, and it was about what we could deliver, not about any politics or any parties. It was just about health, and that was your passion. Didn't matter if it was public health or health scrutiny or health and wellbeing, you were interested in delivering health to the people of Nottinghamshire, and that was throughout the whole of your tenure. What amazed me was your first strategy, which was possibly an amazing thing in itself, because I have here a copy of it, Joyce. This is Joyce's first 24 to 2017 strategy. This could go as a Banksy. This could join our art collection. Could be worth a lot. I'll get you to sign it later, Joyce. But this was the original one, and I draw your attention in particular to the group of people that are on the front of it, the pictures of the people on the front of it. These are Nottingham people looking very, very well indeed. At 2017, Joyce retired and gave me the job, effectively, of becoming the new chair of Health and Wellbeing. And I drew up a strategy, and I got these same people together, and I took a picture of them, and they haven't changed a single day in 4 years. Now, say what you will, that is the greatest strategy known to mankind. I almost wanted to step down and bring you back to do it again. I do think that, well, as you may look forward to your retirement, I think you're going to be missed with the integrated care strategy. This would have been right up your street, bringing the city together, bringing the county together, bringing social care together, bringing the NHS together, and it's a great new wave coming through, and your energy during that will be missed. So I think, Kay, Joyce, congratulations. It's been fantastic working with both of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Doddy. And I have one last speaker on the list, which is Councillor Saddington.
I'm going to just stand sideways, I think, so that I haven't got my back to Joyce and Kay. Well, I would just like to concur with all comments that have been made, but I wouldn't like you two chaps to think you're the only ones that have been hugged.
No.
Because I've been hugged too. So don't think you're special. Kay has given so much to this council, so much to members. I came here in 2005 and I really have to say I didn't quite know what I was coming to, like I'm sure many new members have felt this year. But Kay was there, a great supporter and with great empathy, as Bruce has already alluded to, whenever there was a problem, be it within your community or within your family, Kay was always there to embrace you, support you and guide you, which is what everybody wants who becomes a county councillor. To Joyce, I was on the health committee that she chaired, and it was wonderful. I was a new member, I sat there, I listened, I did what you're always told to do and not speak till you know what you're talking about. But Joyce was a great communicator and a great chairman, and I thank you for that, Joyce. And to Kay again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be chairman of this council, Kay. It was one of my greatest years, and again, you supported me. I do wish you both well. It will be lovely to see you in the chamber occasionally, and we won't lose contact. And you've given great service to Nottinghamshire. Thank you very much, and all the best in your new lives.
Thank you, Councillor Saddington. That is the last speaker on my list. We're about to move to the vote, but we'll give the people who have left the chamber the opportunity to come back. And Ben, sorry, Ben, you've got the right to reply if you wish to do so.
Thank you, Chair. I don't think I need to say a great deal else. I think the comments in the chamber this morning speak for themselves. We have here two of the finest examples of service to Nottinghamshire over many years that we could possibly choose or bestow this honour on. I think, as Councillor Lawton said, it comes from the people of Nottinghamshire for all of the service that has been given, for all of the benefit that they have seen from your service to this council and to the people that you represent. So warm congratulations. It's very much deserved, and I hope that we'll be able to confirm your appointment. I look forward to seeing you at these meetings in the future as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. We now move to the vote, and I would first ask all those in favour. That is clearly unanimous, and the motion is therefore carried. And can I invite Joyce to the dais to receive her certificate and badge?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. You want to start to shop some There's still bubbles outside.
I was told, and I didn't realise I could do a speech, but I think I'd like to do that now, but I have been told that no more than 5 minutes. So I will be extremely brief, which you'll find quite amazing.
Not a Bruce 5 minutes.
No, not a Bruce 5 minutes. Because you've all rambled on at length, I'm going to limit the size of my speech. And I just want to say thank you to Kate, who said that we were legendary ladies. And I'd like to have a go at both Ben and Glyn Guilfoyle, who said that you were barely even born when I became a councillor. So I'm not going to get ageist in any way, but I just want to say that I am really quite, and I've written, this is not normally me, but I've actually written a speech because I want to make sure that I try and thank the people, not named people, but I just want to say a heartfelt thanks, and I can only do it in this way. So I'm really quite touched by your comments this morning, and it means a lot to me, especially as it's been cross-party. And I'd like to thank you all for the honour you've paid me by awarding me this Honorary Alderman title. And I know we've given it before, but it does feel quite special now I'm on the receiving end of one. I'd also like to thank you for your friendship. It's already been mentioned, for your friendship, your support and the challenges over the last 28 years I've been here at County Hall. And I will miss, particularly I'll miss the arguments that we've had. I know we're always nice when we go out there, but we do often give it some when we're in here. And that's quite good. I know I've alluded to it as the pantomime, and it is a bit like that, but I think it's necessary as well for us to at least really claim and show and demonstrate our passion for the people that we represent, and that goes for every single one of us. I feel privileged to have known so many caring and dedicated fellow county councillors, and that's everyone, regardless of party. Thanks also to some of our remarkable officers. It's been a pleasure. I thought you'd gone. I was about to change my mind about thanking you for being a decent officer then. But it's not just the chief execs. I think it's every single one who works for this authority. And on my last day when I was leaving, two of the, I call them caretakers, but we gave them a really special name rather than a pay rise, I think, a few years ago. They were crossing the bridge. They hadn't been to the pub, I'm sure, but they were coming across the bridge and they saw me disappearing for the last time. And they took the time to wave at me as I left. Now, that could have been thinking, yes, she's gone. But they could have ignored me completely, and they didn't. And so every single member of our staff and every single officer has done a remarkable job for the county council. We might think that we're important, but we are dispensable. The officers and staff here are not. It's nice to see so many new faces as well, but it's also quite sad as well to not see old friends here. Because they've either retired, like myself, they've lost their seats in the last election, but also those people that we've lost over the years. Sadly, too many have died. And Glyn is right. The only time we ever do really speak about them as people is when they've died, and that's too late. So it is quite nice for both Kay and myself to hear. Well, it's been a bit difficult really to hear what some of you have said, but it has been quite nice to hear it while we're still around. But one thing we must remember is those people that we have lost, equally they've been as committed to their constituencies as we all are here. But I'd also, and it would be remiss of me not to thank and give special thanks to a former colleague, Councillor Parry Simbaridis, who isn't here, is not receiving this honour, but quite frankly, we've been joined at the hip for so many years. That's a bit of a shame, really. But I am so grateful to him and his family for all the help and support I've had. Most of all, I am hugely grateful to the people of North Mansfield, Mansfield Woodhouse, for their continued support of me, because without them, I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't have had the opportunity to work with them on some of the excellent community projects that you'll be hearing all about, Ben and Anne, when I see you on Friday, or to have enjoyed the valuable experience of being a councillor, because it is important, and we do get a lot for being councillors as well, not monetary, but the fact that we can do things for the people that we represent, and that feels quite good. It's been extremely rewarding working within this council and holding different positions. Every day of being a councillor, as I'm sure particularly new people will learn, is very different. And people in the main have been a joy to work with and represent, and I will miss that. A personal thank you to my granddaughter Emily, who is with me here today. She's in the balcony. She sat in this council chamber, as some of you may remember, at the age of 2. I don't think we allow children in anymore, but she was 2 and she'd sit at the side of me and she was quietly drawing or colouring, putting down her pencils, only to clap when everyone else did, regardless of political persuasion. That is, everyone enjoyed her being there because at least they got some applause. Also, thank you for coming today, Julie, my lifelong friend. We met at school. I think we were about 5 at the time. Yes, it would have been 5, and I think that must be, what, 30 years ago now? I can't pull that off anymore, can I? I know you all agree with me, because you generally do, sometimes, that so few of us can do this job effectively without the support of friends and family, both emotional and physical support that they've given us. And at times it can be really tough for them. And I know we've spoken about that here, and we've said thank you to Kay, who has been given me personal support as well over the years. So it's certainly not just for the Conservatives that she cares or is compassionate about, but she is compassionate for every single one of you. And so you'll be grateful for that, I'm sure, over the years. So finally, I look forward to continuing to work in my Woodhouse community as a volunteer and to work with the 2 new county councillors who now represent them. I will also delight in taking my seat at the back of the room, listening to future debates. I think it could be a bit problematic though for me. Now I didn't realise that my non-verbals gave it all away, but it would be difficult for me to sit over there and be quiet, but I will. Now, I don't think there is anything more for me to say other than I am truly grateful for the honour that you've bestowed upon me today. Thank you.
Can I invite? Is yours still? Can I invite Kay Cutts to come up to the dais to receive her certificate and badge?
Oh, it's nice to be back. I've missed you all. Chairman, Leader of the Council, councillors, Chief Executive officers, all officers, thank you very much for today, for honouring Joyce and I. It has been somewhat embarrassing sitting here listening to the things that have been said because I don't recognise me at all. Still haven't got a tie on, Ben Bradley, have you? I'm still telling you off. This council chamber has seen many dramatic moments where members of the public would be amused, I think, and amazed at times and completely baffled on lots of occasions. But I know everyone comes here to give it their very, very best. I look back at my time when I first came to this council. It was very different then because we had the city councillors here, the 25 city councillors elected as well. It was a much larger council. We had fire, we had police, we had water and waste disposal, all belonging to the council services. And I actually thought the first time I came here, I'm not sure I'm going to hack 4 years. It was really, really political with an enormous P. And I looked at my colleague John Carter over there, who was part of the problem. John and Joan could really give as good as they got and a little bit better on most occasions. But you know, I decided there was 2 choices. You either sink or swim, and I decided to swim. And I have to say there have been some exciting and memorable times here. It's a real privilege and an honour to be able to serve the people of Nottinghamshire. It's an outstanding county. It's a county which in fact is not really well known across the country, but we have been pivotal in so many places throughout the history of Nottinghamshire. We have been here throughout the history of the country. These things have been happening which have shaped the rest of the world. And I am so proud to be born and brought up in Nottinghamshire. I'm so proud to have served on this council and to serve with so many talented people as well. And I, like Joyce, look back upon those who've gone before as those who've retired and those who've died. And I'm probably the last councillor who can remember some of those we've served with Joyce, because I've been here such a long time. And it is so extraordinary to think that people gave so much of their time, so willingly, for such a fantastic organisation like this. And really, I think everyone outside the council chamber, outside this, doesn't understand or appreciate the amount of time and effort that's put in, and the amount of sheer thinking about, is this the right thing to do? Shaping the county. So I'd like to thank you, my fellow ex-councillors. I'm an ex-councillor, my fellow councillors. I'd like to thank you for what you've done as well and what you continue to do. Because, of course, there's always everyone ready to second guess, no better than civil servants. They're always wants to second guess local government. I think local government is extraordinary. It touches the life of so many people. I think everyone in this council chamber today contributes towards that. And I'm really humbled, and I mean this quite sincerely, to receive this honour today, because I've been quite, what shall I say, casual about it up to now. And suddenly, I think it's been borne upon me what a huge honour this has been. I'd also like to thank my family who are in the council chamber today. They've done without me on many occasions, and some of them they would say, jolly good thing too. My husband Nigel has always supported me throughout election campaigns, keeping our home fires burning when I wasn't there. And my daughters have done without my presence on many occasions, and my sons-in-law as well. So I would like to say thank you to you for your support and me as a councillor. You probably wondered what it was all about. You're going to go away today thinking, I really don't know what it's about any more than I did when I came in the council chamber. But believe you and me, it's been a job worth doing. And I'm so proud to be able to do that job. And to lead the council has been an extraordinary thing. And to lead it on 2 occasions. I'm sorry, I'm not rubbing this in, but I have to say, when we took over in 2009, we had been in opposition for 28 long years. And it was a very long time to be in opposition. So I have sympathy with your predicament today, but it happened to us before, and it will probably happen to us again. So thank you all very, very much for this wonderful honour, and a certificate as well. I wasn't expecting a certificate, so thank you very much for this. I should treasure both of these, and I will come to council meetings. And if I put my hand up to speak, please ignore me, because I know I'm not really allowed to.
I'll bang my gavel.
So thank you all today for this, and I shall see you just for 5 minutes when we're having a little drinks reception afterwards. But it's been fantastic, a wonderful time. I wouldn't have missed it for anything, and thank you.
Can I thank everybody for attending this morning? We will be having a drinks reception at around about 12 o'clock, which all members are invited to. This special meeting has now closed, and we will adjourn. We will adjourn for 10 minutes, but can I just ask you to remain for a moment while some...
So Tracy's going to do a photograph of the whole chamber from just up there. So if you can all please turn and face towards, and I'll just go see if there's any other members outside who need to get in.
They've made their feelings quite clear, haven't they?